pace measure. This is a fairly difficult point to explain because it's very abstract. Mainly during this 2016 assembly, they proposed to have a global market-based measure instead of one measure per member state that is actually very difficult to standardize. So they proposed three different measures, one being a tax or levy, the next being an emission trading scheme, and lastly being a simple carbon offsetting mechanism. And they all agreed that the last proposed measure will be the easiest to implement and can be implemented the fastest. So it will come to effect in 2020. Oh, and this market-based measure is being developed in accordance to the Kyoto Protocol, I think. And there's this challenge that the aviation industry faced that I feel needs to be addressed before things can move on. Firstly is that technology itself is very expensive. It requires huge funding, and it's unfair that some states fund more than another state. So that needs to be worked out before progress can be made. And in terms of the carbon offsetting system, it faces a lot of political hurdles as well because emergent markets like developing countries still view aviation as a huge factor to help it grow its economy. So by making it more difficult or making it more expensive because of the buying carbon offsetting measures, there has to be a way that is fair to every state. That means to maintain a balance, but at the same time not go against the Chicago Convention that is based on the principle of non-discrimination. And there actually has to be analysis to carry out on the carbon offsetting so-called mechanism that is being decided because it hasn't really been tested on such a global scale. So once it starts, there needs to be analysis on whether it's serving its purpose. And lastly, in the infrastructure as well requires huge investment in terms of airports and air navigation infrastructures. And adaptation of the newer navigation system that I have previously mentioned will be very difficult to achieve because right now different region has different system and it's difficult for them to just simply forsake their system one day and switch to a brand new system. It will be a huge chaos. So that needs to be figured out before any progress can actually come true. Next, I will move to Singapore, a very domestic situation. This is the current performance of Singapore in Goal 13. As a newly developed country, Singapore is one of the worst performing country with a score of just 50.5 and almost everything is red except for the last part which is yellow, which is not much better. So this is some fact and figures. Singapore is one of the first 55 countries to actually rectify the Paris Climate Agreement. But Singapore is seeing a 2% annual increase in carbon emission year to year from I think 2002 to 2012, and it's trying to so-called lower that increase, but it's still increasing. And 9.65 million tons of carbon was emitted by Singapore this year alone. And in terms of energy generation, our energy generation actually comes from gas. It used to be from fossil fuel, but they have since moved it to gas. But 96% of energy generation actually comes from gas, which leaves 4% to other renewable sources, which is very little. And in terms of cars, there are these numbers of registered private cars in Singapore as of last year's November 30th, of which only 4.3% were hybrid cars.